The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
We have Keneth from Lexington, Kentucky, who writes, maybe the panel can shed some light on this because honestly, folks here aren't sure anymore. Is Mitch McConnell still alive? I know that sounds strange, but the uncertainty has become a running joke and not a very comforting one. A lot of Kentuckians, even lifelong conservatives, are starting to think that age limits and term limits might not be such a bad idea. That's a conversation for another day, though. Right now, the real issue is transparency. What can actually be done when a sitting U.S. senator disappears from public view for weeks at a time? Who has the authority to demand answers? The governor? The Republican Party? Does Trump have any power here? Or is the public simply left in the dark until someone decides to speak? It's unsettling to think that a member of Congress can effectively go missing and there's no mechanism to force clarity. I'd really like to hear the panel's thoughts on what accountability looks like in a situation like this and what, if anything, ordinary citizens can do to get straight information. Yeah. Thank you, Keneth. I don't know, but yeah, people shouldn't just disappear that way. Normal people would lose their jobs.
I'll just say this, and I'll turn it over to Mark. Term limits. I'm not for them, Kentucky, but I do think that you should have voted this guy out a long time ago. And that's not a hard thing to do. All you have to do is turn up at the polls on election day and vote for anybody but Mitch. And I kind of wish it had been done before. But these guys continue to run. Mark knows more about this than anybody because he's in South Carolina where they voted for Strom Thurmond. And I think until they actually had to slam the coffin lid shut and nail it down. And we've got what's his name out there in Iowa, Nebraska, wherever he is. He's like 100 years old. Just how about this? You don't need anybody to tell you you can't vote for a guy. Just don't vote for a guy. I'll stop right there because I don't know what the hell's going on. Nobody knows.
Now, yesterday, there was some report that he sent a photo with his wife saying that everything was fine, that he was hospitalized because of some sort of fall basically over a month ago. So how much truth there is to that, who knows?
Well, wait, we just talk about the picture for a second? Because for a guy who's supposedly in the hospital, he looks awful like he's going to a hoedown. The clothes he's wearing doesn't exactly scream hospital. It screams, I'm going square dancing.
and I didn't think his wife was in the country. I thought she was in China.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? I mean, but let's face it. Scott Jennings, who was on CNN, said he talked to him for 20 minutes. So, and of course, we know how reliable Scott Jennings is. All right. So the question: what can be done? Bad news, Kentucky. Absolutely nothing. There is not a damn thing you can do about it. There is no mechanism. He is not compelled to report his health. He does not have to step down. It does not matter if he's hospitalized or if he's ill or cognitively impaired even. No matter what. He could be absent for huge stretches, and there is nothing you can do about it. The governor can't do anything about it. The Republican Party can't do anything about it. The President of the United States can't do anything about it. There's two mechanisms that you have. Either he resigns or he's expelled by the Senate. The Senate can, in 2/3 majority, expel him from the Senate. And you know damn right well they're not going to be doing that. So bottom line, Kentucky, is you're stuck with what you got. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it because there is no mechanism. Now, unlike Scott, I am for term limits. I'm also for age limits. I think that there should be an age limit. I've always said here in South Carolina, for like the Supreme Court, a recently retired Judge Beatty, Don Beatty, I know Don. He's smart as a whip, but at 72 years old, he was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of South Carolina. He had to retire, mandatory. Could he have continued to serve? I think so. But then again, you can't go on the hopes that somebody's going to be cognitively aware. You have to, you got to set. Here's the line. There it is. We do it for the military. At what age you can enlist and what age you must mandatorily retire. We do it for a whole bunch of different things. Universities do it. You must retire at a certain age. Not all, but some. There's a lot of places that do it. I don't see why we can't do it for our elected officials, Supreme Court included, senators, congressmen, presidents, all of them. You've got to have an age limit. I also believe there should be an age limit of driving. You got a lot of gray hairs out there, silver hairs out there that, God Almighty, they probably cause more trouble than on the road than anything else. So for me, yeah, term limits is fine. And I know that the argument is that Lindsey Graham was in there since 95, and he gained a lot of power being the chairman because of seniority. Well, you know what? Change the way that is done in committees. Seniority should not matter. But that's the problem that you've got with the party system, and the parties would have to come to some sort of a change that would allow the seniority idea of whether or not you're on a committee. Whether or not that matters. And because they're called the ranking, because they're the senior person there. That doesn't mean anything. That could be the senior person there didn't do a damn thing in the last 20 years. What's being the senior person there other than the fact that, you've been there? So
right. You're taking up space.
Yeah. I mean, so the bottom line is, I'm sorry, Kentucky, he could be in a coma. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Oh, and by the way, he doesn't have to tell you. He's not compelled to tell you. And
Yeah.
if the Senate was to remove him, I don't think they remove him because of health. Usually it's for crimes and things like that. It's not for health.
But what if he's dead, though? Can they remove him for being dead? Here's the strangest thing. And this came up when, what's his name? The congressman from New Jersey, Kane, missed 140 votes between March and June. Right? Just disappeared off the face of the earth. And New Jersey had to take a look at it, right? What can we do? And apparently there are state statutes about local officials. There are town codes that say that a member of the city council can be removed, but there's nothing for Congress.
Right.
So I don't know if Congress wants to pass this law, but again, transparency does seem to be the issue. Our friend from Kentucky is correct. Transparency is the issue. Mark, you remember, I'm sure, when Mark Sanford disappeared?
Oh, yeah.
On the Appalachian Trail?
Yeah. Down with his girlfriend down, I think it was Venezuela or someplace like that, yeah.
It was like Argentina. And and his wife is like, I don't know where he is. And then they said he's out hiking.
Yeah,
and then I don't remember how long it was. I think it wasn't quite this long. It was like only a week or so that the guy disappeared. Here's a public figure, very well known, obviously, and he just disappears. In his case, because he was visiting his mistress in Argentina. Mitch McConnell, look, that photograph that they put out there with him sitting next to Elaine Chao supposedly in a hospital where he's not dressed like he's in a hospital, where he's holding a newspaper conveniently to make it look like this was a recent event that happened. There are people who were saying that picture is actually from an event that they went to, and they just doctored it up to make it look, AI can do all kinds of cool stuff. I've seen pictures of him waving from his hospital bed, and he's got like 8 fingers. There's another one where he gets up out of bed and he starts dancing around and then falls to pieces. People are really good at getting AI to do what they want to do. But the bottom line is that Mitch McConnell maybe dead. And the reason that they're not admitting it is that because they don't want Governor Beshear, who's a Democrat, to appoint a Democrat. And then they said, and again, here we go with transparency. I have read that there's a law in Kentucky that says that he has to replace a member of Congress with the same party from a member of Congress, which I don't know if that's true. I saw Bashir talking about it, and he was like, I don't think that's true. I could replace him with anybody I want. But if he did, and then people are saying, well, why don't you do Tom Massey because he's a thorn in Trump's side and make him the president until, the senator until January, I guess, when McConnell's up for re-election, I guess, and, would be the next one would be sworn in. This country is in an informational mess. That really is the thing. We don't know what to trust. Everybody is like running around trying to create their own truth. Trump is and I do put this on Trump, completely destroyed our faith in the media, our faith in the police, our faith in the FBI, our faith in the CIA, our faith in the military, our faith in everything is gone because he decided to attack everything and make it so that nothing is true and everything is permitted and he can do whatever he wants to do. And Mitch McConnell disappear. I mean, it is so Mitch McConnell that he would deny them the ability to replace him out of sheer spite from the grave. Is that not the most Mitch McConnell thing you've ever heard? Dr. No, Mr. Obstruction, a guy who never voted for anything in his life, who has kept the people of Kentucky and the people of the United States of America in poverty because he never voted for a minimum wage increase. If it was up to Mitch McConnell, the minimum wage would be $3.35. He's never voted for parental leave. He's never voted for medical benefits. He has been obstructionist on judges, as we've seen. He's pushed his, Republican judges through, as we've seen. I mean, he is spiteful, evil man that I guess we could all just hope is dead, because it would be a good time to move on. And he's never done anything good for anybody. I will say this. I drove through Kentucky. My daughter was moving from Bradenton, Florida to Denver. I went down to Florida, flew down to Florida and drove with her. We had a trailer attached to the back of the car with all her possessions. Driving through Kentucky was the most teeth-rattling thing. There were potholes in the potholes. And I'm driving through, and when we got out of this like rut period, we actually drove out of Kentucky into the next state, whatever that was, Tennessee, I think it was. The next state, I pulled over to make sure that the trailer hitch was still on the back of the car securely, because there were times when it was bouncing up in the air, and we weren't driving fast, but we were on an interstate. And there were nothing but holes. And I thought to myself, my God, this guy is the Senate Majority Leader and his wife is the Transportation Secretary. You can't tell me they're not getting federal funds, but they're clearly not using them for the roads of Kentucky. Yeah. And I don't want to cast any aspersions, but that sounds like corruption to me. And I think someday we will find out where that money went. And I'm sure a lot of it went to Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's my question to all Kentuckians. Why did you continually vote this guy in? I mean, he did nothing for you. You hear always in a state, well, they're delivering for our state. All right, what the hell are they delivering? What is it exactly that supposedly is being delivered? And as Scott said, I've driven through Kentucky numerous times. My mother-in-law is from Kentucky. It's a beautiful state. If you ever got, other than the roads, it truly is a beautiful state. The equestrian, and it really is gorgeous. There's a lot you could be doing in Kentucky, and the fact is that, well, they just don't seem to want to do it. But to the question about what can be done, I'm sorry. Nothing. Should that be something that we look into? Yes, but you're asking the people that run the system to change the system that benefits them. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. If you're going to have a constitutional convention, it's got to come from the states. It's got to be state-driven. Because Bashir now, and Scott, be honest with you, and we'll be talking about the passing of Lindsey Graham in another episode. But in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, our governor, he can't appoint from either party. But there's a lot of states that they're required to appoint only from the party that the person that they're replacing. So that is a possibility. I was surprised when I learned about here in South Carolina that Henry could basically, as Scott has been, really hoping for, he could appoint me. And
yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes.
No.
Bound for Senate.
No.
Bound for glory. Bound to succeed. It writes itself. We need Mark Bound in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah. No. Bound to probably get his ass shot before he got out. Before he got out of the damn state is more.
Come on,
like
McMaster. Do the right thing.
But I mean, so the bottom line is that this is something that needs to be addressed. It is one of the faults of our system that you can be basically amongst the missing, and there's no way to find out. He could be dead for the last 6 weeks for anybody knows. For all anyone knows. He's protected by HIPAA, so nobody's going to release the information. The medical field isn't going to do it. And you've got people say, "Well, we were talking to him. Well, we were doing this. Well, we were doing that," and they're about as unreliable as they come. He could have been dead for the last 2 years, and you wouldn't know. And when we elect people, we really do have to think about things like this, and we really do have to start thinking about where our system has its gaps, and this is one of them. This is definitely one of them. You would think that somebody, the governor, somebody would have the authority to go in and say, "Listen, I want to see the guy. Let me take his pulse. Here, can you please breathe onto this mirror for me," or whatever? And you say, "I'm sorry, you're DRT, dead right there." No, but there is no mechanism.
Right? How hard would it be for Scott Jennings to take out his cell phone and call Mitch McConnell and put this rumor to rest? He could do it live on TV. It would be some fantastic television. CNN would get great ratings. They would love for that to happen. Everybody would replay it. Every channel, every station, every platform would put it up there. Mitch McConnell calling from the hospital or the rehab facility or whatever it is. But nobody's done that. So again, we're left to believe, I guess, what these people are saying. I was curious about I think I just mentioned minimum wages, right?
Yeah.
People of the South, what are you thinking about? Here's the percentages of workforces in states that earn less than $15 an hour. $15 an hour. How insane is that? That's what we paid our babysitters when our kids were small. And they're paying grown-ups this amount of money to work a 40-hour week. I can't do the math, but somebody please do it for me. Alabama, 18%. Arkansas, 20%. Georgia, 15%. Kentucky, 18% of people in Kentucky make less than $15 an hour. Louisiana, it's not a winner, 25%. Mississippi, 26%. North Carolina, 16. Oklahoma, 21. South Carolina, 16. Tennessee, 14%. And Texas, 17% of people that have the highest rates of poverty in the country, and yet they continue to send the same people back to Congress to do something about it. Federal minimum wage is $7.25. Good Lord. I like, this country is just, we're in such bad shape, and the reason for that is more than likely abortion, which was like the number one issue that people voted for, single issue voters voted for. Off the table now. Your state gets to decide. So far, I predicted wrong. Trump has not made this a national issue. He is leaving it to the states so far, and so that's off the table. What about gun control? off the table. Not ever going to happen. With massacre after massacre could happen, and it would not happen. So how are people down there in these states? How are they expected to live without government assistance that all us taxpayers pay for? When people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and the rest of them keep getting voted back into office and will not mandate that employers pay their workers a living wage. It's just insane to me.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get back.
I mean, you got to remember though, Scott. This is the state where, and Kentucky's the same way, where you drive through, you'll see a bumper sticker that says "Lee surrendered, I didn't." They do not. I mean, they are still so aggrieved in many cases over the Civil War.
Really?
They're absolutely still so aggrieved over that. And they just can't get by that to be able to see what's in their best interests. They will vote for ideology far quicker than they will for actual policy that might help themselves. That's the problem that they have here in the South. They will vote for ideology. They will twist themselves into knots to make it all about Christianity. And it's the right Christian thing to do. I mean, I've told you before, I live 20 minutes away from Bob Jones University. That is the most, I mean, other than Liberty University, that is the most absolute exclusively Christian university that there is. I mean, I went to Villanova, and it wasn't even close to being that bad. And the fact is that here it's a way of life. It is an absolute way of life. When you meet somebody here, the first thing they're going to ask you is what church you go to. That's one of the first things they want to know, what church you go to. I always tell them I'm a Druid. And say, no, just go look that up. But, in the case of Mitch McConnell, I'm sorry, Ken, you're stuck. You are absolutely stuck. And this is a tale that probably all of us should really wake up and pay attention to. We send these people to represent us. And we would hope that they would be cognitive enough to be able and, have a pulse and be able to do it. And this has shown the gap in the system. There should be some mechanism. If we're not going to do term limits, if we're not going to do age limits, and I don't want to hear that's age discrimination. We do it all the time. The military does it. All sorts of sectors do it. It's mandatory retirement age. So, don't give me that just because it's politics. The fact is that we need a mechanism, or we need to have the limits to be able to protect ourselves from stuff like this happening. But that doesn't mean that somebody, at 55 years old can't become debilitatingly ill and put you in the same position. So term limits and age limits really doesn't fix that. There still also has to be a mechanism to where a senator or a congressman can be removed, because they're there until you're lucky. I'm going to tell you right now, Ken, you're lucky. At least his term was up. It could have been worse. He could have been in the first year of a 6-year term. So I guess maybe that's something to, hang your hat on and be happy about.
What a mess.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!